Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, alongside my co-host, Tyson Gentry. And Tyson, we are coming off a massive, awesome weekend of college football. I mean, every single window was incredible. How did you like Saturday? What did you get into?
I liked it as much as I possibly could. I was on nephew duty this weekend, so I was streaming a lot of it on my phone while we were at the arcade or whatever else. So I had to go back through and watch some condensed games on YouTube and stuff like that to figure out kind of what I missed on some of these. But this feels like the one. Like, it felt like this week I had people texting me like, "Oh, college football is awesome. I can't like you." You've been trying to tell me to get into this. I need more college football buddies is really what it is. So I'm telling everybody to watch it. But this was the one that delivered. I mean, we got upsets. We got teams scoring 70 points. Like, everything you wanted to happen.
Well, we got a lot to get into, so let's just jump right in.
I told you so.
And Tyson, I told you so. Clemson, baby. This is a team that I picked to win the ACC. This is a team that everybody buried when they got embarrassed by Georgia. But, folks, weren't they supposed to lose to Georgia? Wasn't that a game that he said, Clemson's got no chance to win? And then when they have no chance and get embarrassed, everybody's trying to bury him. We knew that was going to happen. We also knew that Clemson has the best talent in the ACC. Clemson's going to be one of the best teams in the ACC. And if Cade Klubnik, the quarterback, could just figure out this offense, kind of figure it and wade into the deep waters and get comfortable back there in the second year of Garrett Riley's offensive system, that this team would actually be good. And what do you know? They are killing their opponents off that Georgia loss, putting up explosive plays in the running game. The passing game looks incredible. Klubnik's finding his weapons. Garrett Riley is looking like he is calling a great game, like he was back at TCU. This is something that I thought was going to happen with this Clemson team this year. I told you guys Clemson was going to be good, and so far they're proving me right.
And I'll get into that a little bit here in one of our later segments. I'll save my thought on the Clemson Tigers. My I told you so this week is none other than Kirk Cignetti, baby. Google me. All I do is win. He said he wins football games, folks. He won at James Madison. He's winning at Indiana. I went back, Brad, and in early August, we did our Big Ten preview show. And this is how I know I told you so, because an exact quote from me was that Sig is going to score the shit out of the football. Well, he scored a 31, 77, 42, 52, and 42 to start his tenure here at Indiana. And they have kicked down the door of the top 25. They've kicked down the door of what we thought this Big Ten was going to look like. They just made November in the Big Ten interesting, because if you look at their schedule, they catch Michigan on November 9th, and then they have a bye week, and then they play Ohio State. Are they going to win either one of those games? Maybe not. Probably not. I mean, in all honesty, but the fact that Indiana here is threatening to win 9 games, like in the regular, this is craziness. And they're doing it on the strength of somebody who said, yeah, I'm going to bring my guys from James Madison. I don't know if you guys have been watching us. We were top 25. I'm not afraid of where I'm going. And he's talked the talk. He's backed it up. This dude is a absolute superstar as far as college football head coaches go. So enjoy him while you got him, Indiana, because this dude is on a rocket ship to wherever he wants to go.
Oh, man, my brother's going to hate to hear that, because he's an Indiana alumnus. He's loving what's going on. And the whole thing with Kalen DeBoer being the offensive coordinator, and then he gets out of the door, and now he's running things at Alabama after coming off a national championship. That's the worst thing that he could hear right now. But, yeah, Cignetti, awesome. We love them coming into the season. And so I'm glad you highlighted him, because it's been an incredible start to the Hoosier season so far. Let's get into the next thing. We got to admit when we were wrong.
I've made a huge mistake.
Hand up.
Oh, Tyson, unfortunately, I thought Oregon was going to make a statement coming off their bye. This is a team that everybody was talking and selling, and, oh, this team's going to be great. Oregon Ducks, they're going to compete in the Big Ten. They're going to be championships. They're NIL. Oh, Dan Lanning and da-da-da-da-da. And I don't know if they're saving it. And I don't know if they're doing a rope-a-dope. But right now, they do not look like they are a true national title contender. This offense hasn't clicked. The offensive line is not as good as people expected coming in. Sure, the defense looks good, but who have they played? They dominated a terrible Oregon State team, a UCLA team who can't move the ball. I just am a little not sold on Oregon right now. And frauds might be a inflammatory statement because I still think they're going to win double-digit games. Maybe the only game they lose is to Ohio State. Hell, maybe even they win that one. But they have not been as impressive through 5 weeks as I expected.
Yeah, and hand up isn't us saying what's going to happen for the rest of the year. It's us admitting where we were wrong to this point. So it's not Oregon Ducks, it's Oregon Sucks up top. Okay, my hand up here. Brad, I could have picked anything. Like I got slaughtered on the bet show. BYU keeps making me look stupid every week. Utah got smoked by Arizona. But I got to admit defeat on the Clemson Tigers. Like this was the team that I faded in the preseason. I said they were dead after the Georgia game. I said that you have to score points to win games. I said they're not going to score points. I said college football might have passed Dabo Swinney by. I was wrong. They haven't punted in a fucking month. Like Cade Klubnik is chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. Garrett Riley has this thing rolling. They're the class of the ACC, and Brad, right now they have a massive advantage to be in the college football playoff. I mean, it's really Louisville left on their schedule for anybody that's scaring you. Before the season, it was like, wow, that Florida State into Louisville stretch is going to be pretty crazy. Nobody's afraid of Florida State, and certainly Clemson is not. Look, if they play Georgia again, is it going to be better? Probably not. I still think that they're outclassed by the actual what I consider the true top of college football right now. But Clemson might be – they're firmly in Tier 2, and Tier 2 gets you into the CFP. They're going.
Yeah, and I think the only thing is maybe the ACC championship game. If it is Miami, the Miami fans are probably like, "What? We're the class of this thing." But
they're better than Miami.
I think so too. If they do lose to Miami, let's say in the championship game, does a 2-loss Clemson team get in? That's maybe where it gets a little scary. But I agree with you.
The way that the voters kept Notre Dame alive after that Northern Illinois loss means that somebody's not getting in that should.
Yeah, well, the AP polls. They just love their Notre Dame, dude. They love the big brands. We got to see what the committee thinks of them. We'll see. Tyson, oh boy, this is one of my favorite segments. Let's just jump right in.
Donkey of the day.
And ACC officials, come on down, because what in the world were they thinking in the Miami and Virginia Tech game? What a circus. What an absolute clown show. Anybody with freaking eyes that was at that game knew that pass at the end of the game was incomplete. Are you serious? You called that a touchdown on the field? And then we had guys, Tyson, who are going, well, I don't know if there's enough evidence to overturn this. You might have to stick with it. So we're just going to, because these slaps are making the wrong decision, we're just going to be like, oh, well, there's not enough conclusive evidence. Of course there was. It was incomplete. It was insane. The ball hit the ground. The guy never had possession of it. Yeah, game over. Anybody who's an official who's standing on the field should have seen that. How you miss that? I understand it's a scrum, but that was a layup. The guy's right there. They're putting it from his freaking view what the camera was, and we were like, yeah, obviously that's incomplete. Holy smokes. They almost just completely botched it. What an absolute clown show.
So I do think that it was an incomplete pass. I don't know how you change it off of the replays that we were given. It's kind of my thing. First of all, it's 2024. We can't get HD good on you for wearing uniforms that blend in with the football, so we can't see what the hell's going on in the pile. But we just got 6 dudes looking at it, and the reasoning is because somebody was out of bounds when they touched the ball. Well, that's like, come on, you could see that on the field. They call it incomplete. Somebody runs over with their hands up. They got to clear all the field again because then they reversed it from incomplete to a touchdown just to go to replay after a 3-minute replay that they show on the broadcast to go to the actual replay. I mean, it was a total clown show. I totally understand being upset if you're Virginia Tech, but they did get it right. That was the most Miami finish of all time. For my donkey of the day, Brad, I never thought I would do it to this guy. I didn't think Jeff Brohm was ever going to be involved in my donkey of the day here, but big game Brohm. What the hell, dude? If you didn't see the Louisville Notre Dame game, Louisville is down 31-24 with a little under 3 minutes left in the football game. They get the ball. They're not cruising through the air, but Tyler Shuck is having a good game. He's had huge throws to bring them back, especially in that fourth quarter. You think they're going to maybe have to throw the football here, and you're okay with that if you're Louisville, right? He's got 250 yards at the time, 3 touchdowns. Brohm calls 3 runs in a row. They bleed the clock to under a minute. It's 4th and 1, right? First of all, you're sitting there scratching your head. What are you doing with the clock? Why are you playing it down underneath a minute? And then you take a delay of game penalty on 4th and 1. Now it's 4th and 6, much harder to convert. And the play call is to throw it 25, 30 yards down the field into double coverage. What are we doing? This is a guy that has won in this spot over and over and over again against really good teams. I thought it was another, wow, Jeff Brohm's going to pull this thing off here against Notre Dame. And he just has one of the worst clock management moments I've ever seen in college football. Is big game Brohm dead?
I don't know.
Is it easier to put your nuts on the table when you're coaching Purdue and you're playing against Ohio State than it is when you have a 15th ranked team in the country and you're trying to protect that number?
Yes, for sure.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, so I don't know if he got neutered a little bit or if he neutered himself, but yeah, I mean that boy, oh boy, I mean they had a chance to really make things interesting, and Notre Dame, they're keeping their playoffs alive. They didn't succumb to another upset, Tyson. Unlike two teams this week that were ranked that got that loss, and we're going to get into that right now.
Upset of the week.
How about the Ole Miss? Ole Miss just losing to Kentucky, and this is Tyson's upset of the week, so I'm going to let him start off.
Does it not feel like the James Franco bow to Buster Scruggs meme when he's got the rope around his neck and he says, first time? Right? I mean, this is the Ole Miss special. I said a week ago, man, this isn't your Ed Ogeron Ole Miss teams that are going to come out and peak at number 3 and immediately go backwards. This isn't Hugh Freeze. Well, here we are, right? I mean, this was Jackson Dart didn't look good. The offense didn't really get rolling. And credit to Kentucky. First of all, let's start there. Kentucky wins the football game on the road. This was a crazy spot for Mark Stoops. This is the guy that got passed over after essentially getting the Texas A&M job and then having it taken away after boosters were like, no. So you know what he did? He just said, screw it. I'm going to play Georgia in a knife fight, and then I'm going to go out and beat Ole Miss. 2 things Texas A&M can't do. There's my dig at A&M for the show. But this was huge. This is absolutely massive. This makes the rest of the season in the SEC look very interesting because now it went from, okay, we're counting the playoffs, we're counting Bama in, we're counting Georgia in, we're counting Ole Miss in. And then we're trying to find, is it going to be Missouri? Is it going to be is LSU going to get hot in the second half of the year? Now Ole Miss slides back with those guys, and they feel a lot more gettable right now than they did when they were scoring 80 on Georgia Southern.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I like Lane Kiffin. I think he's a good character for college football. But how many times do we have to do the same thing over and over where it's a big spot and they somehow lose, whether it's because they weren't prepared, whether it's because the team wasn't tough enough, or it's because this magical offense that puts up 80 points on Wagner and a BS non-conference game to start the season. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, look at Ole Miss. It's different this year. And it all comes to roost when they play a real team. And this is a Kentucky team, Tyson, that got embarrassed by South Carolina like 3 weeks ago. And Jackson Dart plays the same football game as Brock Vandegrift. I mean, come on. This is a Kentucky secondary that should have been exploited. Ole Miss could take advantage of it.
It's hard to exploit a team when you only throw the football to Trey Harris. I mean, that's the offense. It's, hey, Jackson, throw it to Trey Harris, and then we'll hand it to Henry Parrish or whoever else a couple times throughout a game. But seriously, I mean, Trey Harris has 11 catches for 175 yards. Jackson Dart throws for 261. Another kid had a huge chunk play for 40. Essentially, you had one guy catching the football, and you're supposed to be national championship contenders.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about a razor-thin margin out for Ole Miss, I mean, I don't think this loss sits very well with the committee upcoming, especially when we're going to look at where Kentucky ends up. This could be a detrimental loss if they lose a second one. Because I think 2 losses for Ole Miss against Kentucky and let's say somebody else, and you got another team. Tyson, this may have cost them a shot at the college football playoff.
I think so. And also shout out to Mark Stoops for playing conservatively for a decade to be able to have this moment. It was a slow burn, but it was worth it.
How about this? Arizona goes into Salt Lake City and shocks Utah. And, man, I'm smiling. I got a shit-eating grin on my face. Tyson's cringing, one, because he took Utah, and one, because he just thinks that anything that comes out of him doesn't stink. I mean, come on. I was so sick of this entire Utah operation with the whole BS surrounding Cam Rising. Is she going to play? Is she hurt? Is she dead? Can we just freaking grow up, first of all, Cam Rising? If you're not going to be here for your 80th year in college football and go take the field, how about you go to the insurance office and get a real job? like we have to do. How about you quit using these COVID excuses and, oh, I was hurt and, oh, I get 19 years of college football. I'm going to handcuff my team because nobody knows I'm out there. We can't get a real quarterback in the recruiting process because this guy's been here for frickin' 2 decades. I mean, it is a complete sham. Now, I respect Utah and what they built there with Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley. He's going to take over after this. It's a great operation. I think they're going to be successful for a long time in the Big 12. But this iteration of the Cam Rising-led Utah Utes, I'm sick to my stomach. I got one of those freaking puke bags that you get on the airplane. So for Arizona to go in and shock them by out-physicaling them in the run game, by spreading the ball around to a tight end, by finding Tedero McMillan and not just targeting him and peppering him like they always did. They did. They got him the rock quite a bit, but not like we'd seen in the past. Brent Brennan, a really good guy coming off a bye against after they got embarrassed by Kansas State, a huge statement win. I think Arizona's back in the Big 12 championship picture. They're back in the college football conversation. They only have one ranked team left remaining on their schedule at this point in time. If they run the table, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship game, and they got a shot at being in the CFP.
To keep forcing to keep winning the turnover battle, like they'll be there. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing with this Arizona team. Is it's like, yeah, the offense is fun, but the defense allows you to do whatever you want. They didn't allow Isaac Wilson to do whatever he wants. And honestly, like if Kyle Whittingham's walking out the door at the end of this year with Cam Rising, and it's going to be Morgan Scalley and Isaac Wilson, I don't know what we're getting from my favorite college football program. I don't actually even really like Utah. It's just kind of become my bit on the show. But also, why are they throwing the ball 40 times? Like, that was something I really think that Arizona deserves a ton of credit, because I think Ted McMillan had 6 catches in like the first quarter or at halftime, and Utah takes him away essentially in the rest of the game. And then it's Burnett and some of these other guys coming in and stepping up, which we've been begging for the entirety of the season, because even Northern Arizona was able to recognize, like, hey, we take that guy away, we can win the football game. And Arizona finally had a counter. So kudos to you.
All right, Tyson, let's get into the biggest storylines of the weekend, because there was a ton of stuff to get into.
Biggest storylines.
And if you're going to start with something, you got to start with Alabama's statement win at home against the Georgia Bulldogs. That, this was a tale. I mean, you got A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. This was a tale of 3 games. I mean, there was the first game in the first quarter when Alabama just stomped out Georgia, and it looked like this thing was going to be just a blowout. Then you had the second game in the middle where it was like, oh, this is the competitiveness that we expected, where Georgia kind of, puts the clamps on them a little bit, starts to come back. And then you had the third game at the very end where Georgia made a roaring comeback and had a chance to tie this thing before freaking Carson Beck throws the back-breaking interception. This was college football. I mean, you want to talk about a throwback. Georgia, the number 2 ranked team in the country, going to Alabama to face the number 4 ranked team in the country. Beck throws for 439, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. Jalen Milroe, 374, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Goes for 117 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Oh, baby. I mean, this had me feeling all types of college football feels.
Yeah, I think you start with saying Kalen DeVore is as good as everyone thought he was. And for anybody that thought that this train was going to stop rolling, just hadn't been watching college football. It's hard to win anywhere in college football. It's harder to win at some of the programs that he's found himself in. And he's got Jalen Milroe looking like an NFL guy immediately. He was awesome. Carson Beck's numbers are so hard to look at and think they're real. I mean, I think he had like negative 40 yards passing in the first quarter. It felt like he had a heck of a lot more than those 3 interceptions. But Brad, in all honesty, this game terrified me for the rest of the season, because Alabama looks like they can beat anybody, and Ryan Williams looks like maybe we were jumping the gun on the Jeremiah Smith thing. Look, he's awesome at Ohio State, but this dude he's the same age, and it took
he's 17, Ryan Williams.
Yeah, that's true. He's actually a year younger, but it's absolutely insane what he's doing. But that second half, Georgia kind of made it feel like, oh man, like these are the 2. They're going to play 2 more times this year. Like, we're going to see it in the SEC title game, and we're going to see it somewhere along the way in the CFP. And if that's the product that we're going to get, sign me up for as many of these things as we can. But for a while, it was like, man, Georgia they're not nearly as good as we thought. And then that fourth quarter was like, oh, Georgia's the best team in the country. Bama somehow is beating them by this much. And this, the resiliency on both sides, I think that's the most, like, if you're Texas, if you're, whoever else is sitting, Ohio State, whoever it is, you're scared of that because your teams haven't had to deal with that yet. Both of them got exposure to that in huge spots this weekend, and they both answered the bell. That might have just been the two best teams in the country going toe to toe.
I tend to agree, although Ohio State's still up there.
I still think Ohio State, and I really like Texas.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it looks like with Ewers. I mean, we kind of talked about the Arch Manning thing a little bit. Would they take a step forward? I don't think they're as good with Arch. He's got some mistakes, and they haven't played the competition where you would think. Again, it's his like third start, so I'm not saying he stinks or anything like that. But to win a championship, you need Quinn Ewers, in my opinion. If you're Texas, I just think throw that out there. I know some people are like, well, I actually think Manning. We kind of played around with that a little bit on the show, but I think it's clear that you need Ewers. I think Ohio State, there's some cracks in the armor. It's looked good for the most part. Like if you watch the box scores, you're like, oh, Ohio State looks good. Marshall was intriguing a little bit. They were moving the ball. Michigan State had a ton of turnovers in the red zone, which was surprising, or else that would have gotten tight. And I do downgrade Georgia off of this. Like this running game is not as good as many expected. Now, they were facing a really good unit in Alabama up front. So, the Trevor Etienne thing not necessarily looking great. That's okay. You kind of take that with a grain of salt. But it just hasn't quite clicked the way I thought it was going to for Georgia. Now, the numbers are going to look good. Arian Smith, Dylan Bell both go over 100, but these are just late game kind of just slow. We need to do something, right? Like it took forever. So what do I take away from that? I don't know, but Georgia's still going to be there. They're going to have a chance. I just don't know if I view them as a top 3 program right now. Honestly, Tyson, I think Alabama, Texas, and Ohio State.
They're going to beat Auburn by 4,000 points.
Oh boy! Saturday. How about this? Colorado dominates UCF on the road, and this was a spot that everybody said, smash spot UCF. You got to go to the bounce house if you're Colorado, coming off that insane Hail Mary victory that got you to overtime. And then now you got to go on the road. UCF's laying 2 touchdowns, and they came out and just smacked up Central Florida. I mean, Shedeur Sanders was incredible, 28 of 35 for 290, 3 touchdowns, did have an interception. I mean, Travis Hunter, whatever you think about the whole persona of Colorado, if you don't think that he's a good football player, that you just deserve never to talk about football. Because 9 receptions, 89 yards, a touchdown. He's doing things on the defensive end. I had another interception. I mean, this operation right now for Colorado, they're 4-1 and 2-0 in the Big 12. I mean, this is impressive. Now, we criticized them a little bit coming out of their loss to Nebraska, but this is exactly what I wanted to see from Colorado. Quit talking the talk if you're not going to be able to walk the walk. Now you can start talking a bit if you want. But I like how they've just handled their business, and we're on to the next. Now they go into their bye week. Are they going to be able to maintain the same level of focus? We'll see. But, Deion Sanders took a lot of heat early. Tyson, this is the Colorado team I think a lot of people expected coming into the year.
Yeah, and I thought that they weren't going to respond this way, and I was wrong. Like, it was really impressive the way that they've been able to bounce back after the Nebraska game. And some of the comments, I mean, they really rallied around kind of what everybody was saying about him. You got the Travis Hunter, Cam Newton beef. It's fake beef, I think, but it's fun. You laid out the Colorado side pretty well, but I want to get into a little bit of, like, everyone in the country that had UCF as the dark horse here to take this thing down. Welcome to the KJ Jefferson experience. This is like who this guy is. We love KJ. He's awesome. But 2 backbreaking turnovers at times you absolutely cannot have them. The score is a 48-21 final for Colorado. Like if UCF is moving the football on these drives, and if they're able to score, Colorado probably still wins the game. But I think we're having a much different conversation right here. With the shakeup that happens here in this conference this week, Utah goes down. Oklahoma State looks like crap. Colorado vaults himself up towards the top here, and UCF kind of takes another slide backwards. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that were about ready to rip their Colorado tickets up, and you might be able to hold on to them for a couple more weeks. Also, I don't think truly that Shedeur Sanders is going to be the first quarterback off the board in the NFL draft. But you cannot tell me there's somebody else in college football right now that's going to be more equipped to deal with pressure once they get to the NFL. This dude is running for his life on every play and making high-level throws every time he drops back.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. I mean, right. I mean, sometimes his arm, I'm like, man, that's NFL. Other times, I'm like, I don't know about the processing, but the talent is there. I think we've seen that. He continues to get better from when he was at Jackson State, and right now this offense is operating. If they can figure out a way to stave off pressure, I think this Colorado team, like, they got a shot to make the Big 12 title game. Seriously.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the rest of their schedule is like Colorado or Kansas State this week is going to be really scary, and then you go Arizona, but. To finish out, I mean, you're circling that Utah game.
So let's move into our final biggest storyline here, and it's Ashton Jeanty again. Now, you guys know that we're on Ashton Jeanty, but the whole conversation now is after – let me pull up what he just did this weekend. I mean, it's completely ridiculous against a Division I team in Washington State. 26 carries, 259 yards, and 4 touchdowns. They averaged 10 yards a rush. That brings his total on the season to 845 yards, 13 touchdowns.
Stop the count.
10.3 average yards per carry. Now, we're on the Jeanty thing. We've talked about him holding a ticket for Heisman. We both have one. Now he's starting to get into the conversation. So what we're going to do here, now it's gone a little bit more national, as people are like, man, should he win the Heisman? Let's talk about this a little bit before we get into next week here. Tyson, what's your chances realistically that you think this guy is taking home the trophy?
If I had to put a percentage on it right now, I 25%, I think, Brad. I think there's a 1 in 4 chance because I think that Cam Ward is going to lose a game. And I don't think that Cam Ward can afford to lose a game and still win the Heisman. I think that Carson Beck might have just watched his award go up in smoke. I think Nico from Tennessee is scary here, and I think that with some huge wins, he can afford to lose a game in a way that some of these other quarterbacks can't. But Milroe, to me, is really the one where you're just like, God, I don't know if anybody's beating Alabama right now, and I don't know if he's going to put up a bad game. But listen, this is what we were saying when we took Jeanty. I think it was 3,300 or 33 for you, 34 for me. And we were like, he's not going to be in the national spotlight for the rest of the year, but he's going to put up video game numbers. They don't get more video game than this. He's averaging a first down every time he touches the ball. If the coaching staff gives him the football, they have a top 25 win right now, and they have an inside track to be the G5 team in the college football playoff. I think he is explosive. He is fun. And anytime you can put up eye-popping numbers, you're in good company. He's also maybe the only one on the list, Brad, that's not going to be that affected if his team is losing football games. And that's the thing is, if Boise State loses 3 games and Ashton Jeanty finishes with as many yards as Barry Sanders and 25 touchdowns, how are you not going to etch his name on that trophy?
Well, I don't think they can lose. They can't lose for the rest of the season, in my opinion.
They lose at least one.
I don't know, because these guys. Because let's talk about it this way. Because Jalen Milroe is the favorite right now, plus 220. I think after what he just did, we love Kalen DeBoer. We think this offense is going to continue to put up insane numbers. Alabama, if they go undefeated, Jalen Milroe is going to win the award because it's a great quarterback performance. Alabama's going to be undefeated. It's going to be his. That's it. For a non-quarterback to win in recent years, they have to do something insane like Devontae Smith did with Alabama. And even then, you're just kind of praying that a quarterback, people don't view him as someone who should win. Ndamukong Suh probably should have won the Heisman, but that was back when we were giving it to running backs. I think, honestly, Tyson, we just talked about Colorado. Travis Hunter's the second favorite. If they run the table, I think he's going to get the award because what he's doing is historic. It's completely ridiculous on both sides of the football. I'm with you with Cam Ward. I think if they lose, there's a chance that this thing kind of snowballs out of control for Miami because that's just the way things have gone. I think the turnovers might be a little bit too much as well if that comes off the rails. But when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, I'm with you where I think he's got a real shot at this thing. Tyson, he's on pace to go over 3,000 rushing yards. The most ever is, like you said, Barry Sanders, 2,600. I mean, come on. Nobody's ever breached 3,000. What are we even talking about here?
And he has one more chance, Brad. And I think that's kind of lost when people are talking about this. I've seen some things in the national media. UNLV is good. They are playing on October 25th at 8:30 p.m. Nobody else is playing at that time. Everybody's eyes are going to be on that football game. And if he can have another 200-yard game, look, it sounds ridiculous to say. I almost said 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, and I was like, you got to pump the brakes. That's what he's averaging. That's what he's doing, people.
Insane.
I think this dude has a real shot to bring home the award. If he gets 3,000, I don't care what Milroe does. You got to give him the award.
37 touchdowns is the most scored. It was by Barry Sanders same year. That won him the Heisman. I mean, it's kind of, you set single game records or single season records. Come on. But he's at 13. Tyson, we've seen this before. Jay Ajayi did it in 2014 with 28. Brock Forsey in 2002 scored 26 touchdowns in the season. This is something with already 13 through 4. That's 26 through 8 games. We got another. That's 39. He's on pace for to beat Barry Sanders' record. I don't think he gets there, but there's a real shot. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, they play Utah State this weekend.
Hawaii,
I mean, did anybody watch that game?
Nevada, they catch Wyoming. I mean, this is like he's getting into the softer part of what he's going to be able to do.
So we're hoping that Jeanty gets home. We do think, though, that honestly, I'll put it this way. I'll kind of put a bow on this. Tyson, it's going to be Milroe, it's going to be Travis Hunter, or it's going to be Jeanty. I'm calling my shot. Those are the 3 guys.
I think, honestly, right now, those are the only 3 that – I mean, Cam Ward, he deserves to be in New York. I think if the season ended today, I think his odds are way too short.
All right, let's look ahead now. Not a good slate this weekend. We're coming off just a fantastic week in the college football. Marquee matchups, prime time games that we couldn't get enough of. But there isn't really that this weekend. Now, we'll always see some crazy games. But in terms of what we want to highlight, what we want to break down here in Playbook Preview, we only have one.
Playbook Preview.
And that is the number 9 Missouri Tigers going on the road to face number 25 ranked Texas A&M. Missouri hasn't been impressive. Kind of let me down a little bit in terms of our betting show that'll come out later in the week. But they're coming off a bye. Is this a spot that they can get right? And Texas A&M, boy, talk about Jekyll and Hyde, man. What are you viewing in this one?
Well, it's interesting to me that this opens up at 1.5 and immediately moves to Texas A&M 2.5 point favorites here. Missouri has not played well as the favorite this season. Brad alluded to it. They're awesome as underdogs. Like, it's a different role that they have to put on going on the road here to 150,000 people. It feels like all A&M games. I think this team plays a lot better as the underdog. I think A&M looked pretty good against Arkansas. I don't think they looked amazing. I also don't think Arkansas is all that great. I do expect Missouri to be able to win this game. I want a Luther Burden game. God damn it. Like, what are we waiting for? Can I get this guy to pop off? Can we get him in space? It's fun to use him as a slot wide receiver. It's fun to throw him in motion all the time. Sometimes you just got to give him the football. I like Brady Cook a ton. He hasn't been great to start this season. Missouri's able to lean on the run game and I think get this one done. I don't think A&M has the juice to hang with somebody kind of a class above them, so to speak, in college football right now. This would be huge for Texas A&M. This would be huge for the entire new regime. But Eli Drinkwitz just finds a way to win these football games, and it's going to be weird. This might be – I say this a lot, but this might actually be a throwback SEC football game.
Missouri's defense is really good. And once Connor Wigman went out, Marcel Reed came in and took over. And he's actually, I think it's been an upgrade on offense.
Better.
585 yards, 6 touchdowns, 73.3 QBR. So he's been solid. He's taking care of the football. And I think that's what Texas A&M needed. Now, you mentioned Brady Cook, Tyson, and I agree with you. It hasn't quite been the eye-popping numbers that we expected. 946, only 68.7% completion percentage. Again, just not quite what we're looking for. And then 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Where's the explosiveness? Where's the numbers? Where's this offense of juggernaut that we saw from Missouri a year ago coming from? And I agree with you. I think it's because Luther Burden has not been featured. Only 19 catches, 257 yards. Theo Weiss, he's a good player, but 26 yards, 287 yards. That's got to be flipped. I mean, Burden's got to get the ball more. He's got to get targeted more. So I expect that to change coming out of this weekend. Now, for me in this game, if Missouri can block the front of Texas A&M, they're going to run wild on that secondary. Yeah. Block Texas A&M, you can have success. I think that's going to happen. I'll give it out right now. I'm taking Missouri money line, whether the favorite or the underdog. I think they win this game. They make a statement off the bye week. Texas A&M coming off a game against Arkansas, Arkansas is just not a very good team. This is a statement game for Missouri. They go into hostile territory and pull it off.
And they need to make a statement. Like, it's put up or shut up time here for Missouri because that 9 feels like it could be 19 based on the way that they played this season.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us on this episode. But Tyson and I alluded to making a play already, but we have our picks episode coming out later in the week that you guys can tune into. But where can they find any picks that we're giving out early?
It'll be in the Discord app. Group name, as I said, what I said. Tons of different channels in there, college football stuff, NFL stuff, baseball playoffs are here. Soccer stuff is always going. I mean, does soccer ever end? There's always 15 different leagues going on. And that's why we have the Discord set up, and you can hop in, let us know what you're playing, what features you have, anything else. You would have made a ton of money. You hopped in there and just faded every pick that I made on the show a week ago. So get in. We're building a little bit of a community, and Brad, honestly, it's pretty fun on Sunday night and Monday night, getting a bunch of primetime props in there and just listen to the people just sweat over their bets. We want to watch you agonize. We want to agonize with you, and more importantly, we want to celebrate wins.
Yeah, we're going to set up a hangout here pretty soon. We've been pretty busy through the first few weeks, but maybe later in the season we'll just have a little Discord. We call it chill and talk about some live bets we want to play. So that's something that we want to switch over to Discord as well. But from my end, before we get out of here, like, subscribe, and share the show. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button on the way out. Stay subscribed because we got a ton of content. I say it every week, but I want to just drill it in. We got you covered through this football season. Later in the week, we're giving out picks again. We've started to turn things around a little bit here and there. We got some rough weeks, but I think we're starting to see the board a bit better. So come and listen to what we got to say. We want to hear your picks as well. Leave something in the comments. Let us know what you thought of this weekend, and we'll talk to y'all later in the week. Till then, guys, peace.